You believe, as a Labour member, that the right to withdraw your labour is fundamental. Do you think the junior doctors are right to exercise it in these circumstances?
I think they're making some fundamental mistakes here. I always thought it slightly odd to think of the BMA as a trade union in the first place. Anyway, you don't think of them representing the horny-handed sons of the soil somehow. But they are a trade union in the same way that, the Law Society is. But look, the issue we have here is that I've never met a poor doctor, but I've never met a rich junior doctor. And I spent 10 years as a porter at the Middlesex Hospital. And it's extraordinary, the number of medics there who came from extremely privileged backgrounds. The rate of pay was irrelevant, but that was between 1970 and 1980. Nowadays, if we want to encourage more people to go into medicine, we should be looking at the entry point. We should be looking at subsidies, bursaries, assistance, help at the early stage. Then once they've graduated, once they've qualified, once they've finished their junior houseman year, once they become consultants or whatever, they will be fine. So I think, firstly, we need to actually define our terms. It's a good trade union principle. What do we actually want? Not just when do we want it, but it should be specifically at the early stage, because later on in the day, to be frank, they're not doing badly.
So, David, they want 35%. Do you think, as Dr. Robert was saying to us, if they went on strike, we might all be healthier anyway? That was quite a claim from history.
It's called the iatrogenic illness, isn't it? In other words, that you actually suffer from doctors, and there's quite a lot of evidence that that's the case. But can I first actually begin by counting what Stephen said? There is gross over-demand for medical school places. We're turning away. And I think of the order of, is it 3 or 4 times the number of places that are available? So there is no case, in other words, for increasing early pay in the fact that all of these people queuing up to become medics. I think the more important thing is the point you made. That is to say, the duty of care. Again, Stephen was giving examples of his earlier career. I'll give one of mine. When I was teaching people like Stephen, I was a member briefly of another one of these confused organisations, the Association of University Teachers, except that's not a professionally regulatory body, as the BMA is and the Law Society is, whatever, where there's a profound confusion. I resigned from it when I was told not to mark exam papers, because it simply seems to me to be improper to visit on the patient, the student, your quarrel with your employer. It is, I'm going to use the word, I think, immoral. And I think the behaviour of the junior doctors is profoundly foolish.
OK, so what do you do if you feel you're not paid enough? What other avenue do you have if you're a junior doctor?
What other avenue do you have? You would negotiate via your profession. You would then ask, I think, what none of them do, fundamental questions about the nature of the organisation that they work for. These doctors are fundamentally complaining about 2 things. They're complaining about the nature of the organisation. They feel oppressed, they feel not able to control their lives and whatever. And on the other hand, they're complaining about pay. All the time, however, they are loud in the praise of this wonderful thing called the NHS that pays them badly and treats them badly. And they're showing no sign of fundamental thought. In fact, they're just behaving like any other boneheaded trade unionist.
Stephen,
and clamouring for more money.
Let Stephen defend boneheaded trade unionism.
I think we could drift off into a debate about the NHS, and I'm perfectly happy to do it. But look, what they're talking about at the moment is pay and conditions. They say that they're overworked. Now, what we need to be doing, absolutely right, is negotiating. We're talking about separate medical schools all around the country. We should be actually talking, or the medical schools should collectively be talking to Stephen Barclay, to the Secretary of State for Health. We should actually be talking and negotiating. I mean,
shouldn't a junior doctor be overworked?
There's something wrong with the structure. No, I genuinely believe there is.
But they're not overworked, because the 48-hour week applies to junior doctors. They may have been overworked 20 years ago.
They are now badly trained.
No doctor clocks off in the afternoon or the evening when he's still got a patient. They don't simply say, drop your stethoscope and walk out the door. That just isn't realistic.
I think quite a few of them do. I think we need to be.
For the next 3 days, they're going to drop their stethoscopes. They're going
to drop everything, and they're also.
We're not going to put them on.
They're also going to do it in a fashion which is deliberately designed to cause the most disruption, which means they're deliberately designing it to injure patients, dying, undergoing cancer treatment as much as. But doesn't this destroy everything that is valuable and socially valuable about a doctor?
Before we finish, because Stephen, you're not unsympathetic to people who go on strike, but I get the impression that you think this strike is a strike too far.
Yeah, no, I think the idea, you cannot, just as much as you cannot be in favour of every single person being an immigrant to this country, you cannot be in favour of every single striker. Don't forget, I can remember when the Dockers came out in support of Enoch Powell. There's plenty of strikes that I wouldn't support. I think this one is badly structured, badly aimed, badly targeted, and it's going to end badly.